The soft patter of rain echoed gently through the ancient forest that bordered the small village of Kiyomura. Nestled among rolling hills and veiled in the mist of early spring, the village looked like a painting come to life, with wooden houses standing quietly beneath the towering cedars, and narrow, winding paths that seemed to invite travelers into a forgotten world. In the dim gray light of the overcast afternoon, the air smelled of damp earth, fresh pine, and blooming cherry blossoms that dared to open despite the drizzle. It was a day that seemed meant for stories, for secrets whispered between raindrops, and for dreams that wandered freely on the wind. Among the villagers, one man stood out, not for his wealth or status, but for the quiet strength in his eyes and the patient hands that tilled the soil every day. His name was Haruto, a humble farmer whose life was as steady and unassuming as the river that ran near his fields. Haruto was known for his kindness and a certain spark of curiosity that set him apart. His weathered face often broke into a warm smile, especially when children gathered around him to hear tales from his childhood. But beneath that calm exterior, there was a yearning, a silent wish for something beyond the ordinary rhythms of village life. On this particular afternoon, the rain began as a gentle murmur but soon grew heavier, sending villagers scurrying to find shelter. Haruto was out in the fields when the first fat drops fell, drenching the rich soil and the crops he had nurtured since the season's first warmth. He looked up at the sky, a faint smile tugging at his lips despite the sudden downpour. The rain was a blessing, nourishing the land that fed his family and neighbors. With a quick glance at the darkening clouds, he turned his steps toward the great cedar tree that stood on the village's edge, an ancient sentinel that had witnessed generations come and go. One by one, other farmers followed, laughing and shouting as they raced to the same refuge. Beneath the wide, gnarled branches, the villagers huddled together, the tree's thick bark sheltering them from the relentless rain. The ground beneath was soft with moss, and the air was cool but comforting. As they settled, the chatter softened into a gentle hum of camaraderie. Children squished their boots in puddles, elders shared knowing glances, and women passed around warm cups of tea wrapped carefully in cloth. Haruto joined the group, setting down his worn satchel and kneeling beside a cluster of wildflowers that clung to the roots of the cedar. The vibrant colors of the blooms seemed almost impossible against the gray sky. From the corner of his eye, Haruto noticed a delicate flutter, a small butterfly, its wings a brilliant mosaic of blue and gold, danced lightly through the rain. It hovered briefly before settling on his knee, as if it sought solace from the storm just as much as the villagers. Haruto raised a hand, instinctively preparing to shoo it away, but an elderly man beside him placed a gentle hand on his arm. "Do not frighten it," the old man said, his voice as soft as the rain. "That butterfly is a messenger. In our village, we believe it carries the souls of those who wander between dreams and waking." Haruto's gaze softened as he watched the fragile creature. The old man continued, sharing tales passed down from generations of how the butterfly's wings were like windows to another realm, fluttering through the night to weave dreams for sleeping souls. Intrigued, Haruto let the butterfly be. It lingered a moment longer, as if acknowledging his kindness, before lifting off and disappearing into the mist. The rain eased, turning once again to a gentle drizzle, and the villagers relaxed further. Haruto leaned back against the cedar's trunk, feeling the rough bark press reassuringly against his skin. The rhythmic tapping of raindrops above became a soothing lullaby. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath, the scent of wet leaves and blossoms filling his senses. Slowly, his mind began to drift, carried away by the melody of nature and the warmth of companionship. But as the village fell into a peaceful quiet, an unexpected presence stirred within the folds of the fog, a quiet anticipation that something extraordinary was about to unfold, far beyond the ordinary world that Haruto had always known. As the rain began to soften into a misty drizzle, the village of Kiyomura grew still, cloaked in an ethereal veil of fog that rolled softly over the hills like a gentle wave. The great cedar tree, ancient and towering, stood as a silent witness to the shifting world around it. Haruto remained leaning against its rough bark, his eyes half closed, his mind wandering between reality and dreams. The murmurs of the villagers faded as one by one they drifted home, leaving only the soft sound of raindrops falling from leaf to leaf. But amidst this calm, Haruto's senses prickled, a faint stirring in the air, a subtle shift in the atmosphere. He opened his eyes, and through the thickening mist, he spotted faint shapes emerging. At first, they appeared like shadows, ghosts of the fog, but as they drew closer, the silhouettes became clearer, figures clad in robes of deep crimson and shimmering gold, their movements graceful and deliberate. Haruto's heart quickened. These were no ordinary villagers. The leader of the procession was an elderly man, his eyes sparkling with wisdom and kindness, his silver hair tied neatly beneath an embroidered silk cap. Behind him followed an entourage of attendants, each carrying delicate fans, scrolls, and ornate lanterns that cast a warm glow even in the dim light. The scent of rare incense and blooming sakura blossoms wafted through the air, announcing their presence with an otherworldly fragrance that made the hairs on Haruto's arms stand on end. The old man approached Haruto, his voice calm yet commanding. "Haruto of Kiyomura," he began, "we have come at the behest of Lady Miyako, the queen of this realm." Haruto bowed deeply, overwhelmed by their dignity and the weight of their words. "The queen has heard of your kindness, your pure heart, and your unwavering spirit," the man continued. "She seeks your aid in a matter that threatens the balance of our land." Questions swirled in Haruto's mind, but he remained silent, eager to listen. The old man gestured to the others, who produced a small, intricately carved box made of lacquered wood, adorned with delicate silver inlays shaped like dragons and phoenixes. "This box contains a seed," the old man explained. "A seed from the sacred tree of eternity, a tree that once stood at the heart of our kingdom, its roots holding the very essence of life and harmony." Haruto's eyes widened. Legends spoke of such a tree, lost long ago to dark forces and neglect. "But the seed has been stolen," the old man said gravely. "And with it, the future of our land is imperiled. The queen entrusts you to recover what has been lost, to journey beyond the known, and to restore the sacred tree." Haruto's breath caught in his throat. He, a simple farmer, was being called upon for a quest that sounded beyond his wildest imaginings. Yet, in his heart, a fierce resolve kindled. He had always dreamed of something more than the steady toil of fields and seasons. Perhaps this was his destiny. As if sensing his thoughts, the old man smiled gently. Fear not, Haruto. You will not be alone. The spirits of the forest watch over you, and allies may come when least expected. Suddenly, a soft breeze stirred the leaves, and from the mist, a figure stepped forward, a young woman clad in white robes, her hair like spun silk and eyes shimmering with ancient wisdom. I am Sayuri, she said, bowing gracefully. I am here to guide you through the trials ahead. Haruto bowed again, gratitude and awe mixing within him. Before he could speak, the procession began to move again, beckoning him to follow. He hesitated only a moment before rising, the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. As they departed the village, the fog thickened around them, swallowing the familiar and revealing a path that would take Haruto far beyond the fields of Kiyomura into a world where myths breathed and legends walked. The procession wound its way through the dense forest, the towering cedars whispering secrets in the gentle breeze. Haruto's footsteps were light but determined, his mind racing with thoughts of the sacred seed and the journey that lay ahead. Sayuri walked beside him, her presence calm yet powerful, as if she was part of the very forest itself. Her eyes scanned the shadows with quiet vigilance. Haruto, she said softly, the path ahead will test your courage and your spirit. Darkness stirs in the forgotten places, and those who covet the sacred tree's power will stop at nothing. Haruto swallowed hard but nodded. He trusted Sayuri and he trusted the call that had brought him here. As they ventured deeper, the forest grew thicker, the light dimmer. The scent of damp earth mixed with something sharp, the faintest trace of smoke. Suddenly, from behind a cluster of ancient oaks, a rustle broke the silence. Haruto stopped. His heart pounded. A group of cloaked figures emerged, bandits, known as the Shadow Blades, feared throughout the region for their ruthless raids. We've been waiting for you, farmer, snarled their leader, a tall man with a scar crossing his cheek. The queen's business does not concern you. Sayuri stepped forward, her hands glowing faintly with an ethereal light. You shall not harm him, she warned, voice steady and commanding. But the bandits laughed, their blades gleaming in the dim light. A fierce battle erupted beneath the ancient canopy. Haruto, unarmed but fearless, dodged and weaved, guided by Sayuri's magic and his own quick reflexes. As arrows whistled past and steel clashed, Haruto realized this was no ordinary quest. The fate of the kingdom truly rested on his shoulders. In a desperate move, Sayuri summoned a swirling vortex of wind and leaves, scattering the bandits and forcing them to retreat into the shadows. Breathing heavily, Haruto looked at Sayuri with newfound respect. Thank you, he said. I never imagined my life would be like this. Sayuri smiled faintly. Your strength lies not in the sword, but in your heart. Remember that. As the night fell, the procession found shelter in a secluded glade. Around the campfire, Haruto gazed up at the stars, feeling the weight of the journey yet embracing the adventure. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for the first time, Haruto felt truly alive. Dawn broke over the forest with a gentle haze, sunlight filtering softly through the leaves like golden threads weaving a tapestry of light and shadow. Haruto awoke by the campfire, the crisp morning air carrying a faint chill that brushed against his skin. Sayuri was already awake, tending to a small pouch of herbs and whispered incantations that made the flames dance with unusual colors, blues and greens flickering amidst the orange glow. Today, Sayuri said quietly, we will reach the Silver Lake. It is a place of ancient magic, where the water holds the memories of our ancestors. Haruto listened intently. The idea of a lake that stored memories sounded like a dream or a legend, but with everything that had happened, nothing seemed impossible anymore. As they traveled, the path wound through tangled roots and flowering shrubs, birds calling softly from hidden branches. The procession was quieter than the day before, each member lost in thought or prayer. Suddenly, the soft trickle of water reached their ears. They broke through a final stand of trees, and there it was, the Silver Lake, shimmering like liquid mercury under the morning sun. But something was wrong. The surface was still, unnaturally so, reflecting the sky without ripple or breeze. Along the shore, strange carvings marked the stones, ancient runes glowing faintly with silver light. Sayuri stepped forward, tracing the symbols with delicate fingers. This lake is a gateway, she murmured. It reveals truths, but only to those pure of heart. Haruto felt a strange pull in his chest, an urge to step closer. As he did, the water rippled once, then calmed again. Suddenly, the lake's surface shimmered and transformed into a vision, images flickering like ghosts. He saw a towering tree, vast and glowing, its roots spreading through the earth like veins of light. But then darkness crept, twisting the roots and whispering its leaves. Then a figure appeared, a shadowy silhouette with eyes of burning red, reaching out to grasp the seed that lay nestled in the tree's heart. Haruto gasped, stepping back. Sayuri's voice was firm but gentle. The darkness you saw is the ancient curse that stole the seed, she explained. It feeds on despair and fear, growing stronger when hope fades. Haruto clenched his fists. How can we defeat it? Sayuri looked deep into his eyes. With courage, love, and the truth that lives within you. At that moment, a rustle in the bushes startled the group. From the undergrowth emerged a young boy, no older than 10, with eyes bright and curious. I've been waiting for you, he said simply. Haruto exchanged a puzzled glance with Sayuri. The boy's sudden appearance was no coincidence. Who are you? Haruto asked. I am Kaido, the boy replied. The keeper of the lake's secrets. Sayuri nodded slowly. Then your guidance will be invaluable. The boy smiled mysteriously, his gaze drifting to the shimmering waters. The path ahead is dangerous, but together we will bring the light back to the sacred tree. The sun dipped low behind the ancient cedars as Haruto, Sayuri, and the mysterious boy Kaido stood beside the shimmering silver lake. The air grew thick with anticipation, the faint glow of the runes casting eerie shadows across the water's surface. Kaido's eyes gleamed with a mixture of excitement and solemnity. The path to the sacred tree is not one of ease, he warned. Beyond the lake lies the forgotten path, a realm where time folds and illusions walk. Many have ventured but few have returned. Haruto felt a chill run down his spine but nodded firmly. He was ready to face whatever trials awaited. Sayuri extended her hand toward the lake, chanting softly in an ancient tongue. The water began to ripple violently, rising in a spiral of silvery mist that formed a shimmering doorway. "This is your passage," she said. "Step through and trust your heart." One by one, they crossed the threshold. The world shifted instantly. The lush forest was replaced by a labyrinth of twisting, thorn-covered vines that seemed to breathe and pulse. Haruto's footsteps echoed as the trio ventured deeper. Strange whispers floated on the air, half-heard voices from forgotten memories. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled. A massive figure emerged, a guardian spirit, half man, half beast, with eyes like burning embers and muscles rippling beneath bark-like skin. "I am Ryazan," the guardian declared. "To proceed, you must prove your worth. Face your deepest fears, or turn back forever." Haruto's mind raced. What fears lurked within him? The spirit raised a massive hand, and the world around them distorted. Haruto found himself alone, standing before a vision of his childhood home now in ruins, smoke curling into a blood-red sky. He heard the cries of his family, felt helplessness and despair wash over him. The voice of doubt whispered, "You are but a farmer. How can you save the kingdom?" Heart pounding, Haruto clenched his fists. "No," he declared aloud, voice steady despite the trembling inside. "I am more than my fears. I am the hope of Kiyomura, and I will not fail." The vision shattered like glass, and Haruto found himself back with Sayuri and Kaito. The guardian nodded approvingly. "Your courage is true," Ryazan said. "But one trial remains." Suddenly, the ground split open, revealing a dark abyss swirling with shadowy tendrils. "Step into the unknown," the guardian commanded. Without hesitation, Haruto stepped forward, the shadows curling around him but unable to pierce his resolve. Sayuri and Kaito followed, the three united in spirit and purpose. Emerging on the other side, the forest reopened, bathed in moonlight, serene yet mysterious. Ahead, faint golden light shimmered through the trees. The sacred tree awaited. But the darkness was not finished yet. From the shadows, sinister eyes watched. A low, chilling growl echoed. The final battle was about to begin. The soft glow of the sacred tree filtered through the dense foliage, casting long shadows that danced in the moonlight. Haruto, Sayuri, and Kaito approached cautiously, their footsteps silent on the moss-covered ground. The massive tree towered before them, its silver leaves shimmering like stars scattered across a midnight sky. Its bark pulsed gently with the warm, golden light, a heartbeat of the land itself. But beneath this beauty lurked a creeping darkness. Suddenly, the air grew heavy, thick with a sinister energy. The shadows twisted and writhed, coalescing into a form both terrifying and majestic, a dark spirit, known as Yami no Kage, the shadow of despair. Its eyes burned crimson as it hissed, "You dare come to steal what belongs to me." Haruto stepped forward, gripping the hilt of a simple wooden staff given to him by Sayuri, a talisman of protection and hope. "You do not belong here," Haruto declared, voice steady despite the fear clutching his heart. "The sacred tree will bloom once again, and your darkness will be banished." Yami no Kage laughed, a sound like cracking ice. "Foolish mortal. Your hope is but a flicker in my endless night." With a wave of its clawed hand, tendrils of shadow lashed out, wrapping around the tree's trunk, squeezing its life force. Sayuri chanted in a melodious voice, weaving spells of light that clashed with the darkness. Kaito summoned shimmering shields of silver light, protecting the group from the creeping shadows. But the battle was far from easy. Haruto felt the despair trying to seep into his soul, whispering doubts and fears. Yet, he recalled the faces of his village, the trust of the queen, and the promise of the sacred tree. Drawing strength from these memories, he raised his staff high. A brilliant beam of light erupted, piercing the shadowy form. Yami no Kage screamed, its form fracturing like shattered glass, before dissolving into the night air. The sacred tree pulsed brighter, its silver leaves glowing fiercely, spreading warmth throughout the forest. Haruto sank to his knees, exhausted but victorious. Sayuri smiled warmly, "You have done what many could not. The seed will grow anew, and so will hope." Kaito nodded, "But remember, darkness will always return. Your journey has only just begun." As dawn approached, the trio prepared to return to Kiyomura, forever changed, and forever bound to the fate of the sacred tree. The journey back to Kiyomura was quieter than the one out, the air heavy with reflection and the unspoken bonds forged through trials. Haruto, Sayuri, and Kaito walked beneath the soft morning light filtering through the cedars, their hearts both hopeful and wary. Though the sacred tree was saved, the shadows that once haunted the forest seemed to linger in the corners of Haruto's vision, fleeting shapes, whispers carried on the wind. Back in the village, the familiar sights and sounds felt strange and distant, as if Haruto was seeing them through a veil. The villagers gathered eagerly to welcome their hero, their eyes wide with wonder and gratitude. Yet beneath the celebrations, a subtle unease stirred. That night, as Haruto rested beneath the same ancient cedar that had sheltered him months before, Sayuri approached him with a grave expression. "There is something you must know," she said softly. While Yami no Kage was defeated, its essence was not destroyed. It has taken refuge elsewhere, growing stronger in the shadows of the human heart. Haruto frowned. "What do you mean?" "There is a darkness within the village itself," Sayuri explained. "An unseen threat that feeds on fear and division. If left unchecked, it will consume everything." Kaito stepped forward, eyes serious. "We must find its source before it is too late." Haruto felt a chill, the weight of responsibility settling heavily once again. Determined, he called a meeting of the village elders. Together, They spoke of strange happenings, crops failing without reason, neighbors quarreling over small slights, children waking from nightmares. The darkness was real, creeping silently through the fabric of their lives. With Sayuri and Kaido by his side, Haruto vowed to uncover the root of this new threat. Their search led them to an ancient shrine hidden deep within the forest, a place once sacred, now tainted by shadow. As they approached, a low growl echoed, and from the darkness emerged a figure cloaked in black, eyes glowing with malevolence. "The true battle begins now," Haruto whispered. The ancient shrine lay hidden deep in the heart of the forest, its worn stone walls entwined with creeping vines and moss. Once a place of reverence and light, it now bore the weight of darkness. Shadows pooled thick in every corner, and an oppressive silence hung heavy in the air. Haruto, Sayuri, and Kaido approached cautiously, the moonlight barely piercing the dense canopy above. Their breaths came in shallow gasps as the eerie stillness pressed around them like a living thing. "We must tread carefully," Sayuri whispered, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and determination. "The darkness here is ancient, born from pain and betrayal long forgotten." Haruto tightened his grip on the wooden staff, feeling the comforting pulse of its protective magic. Beside him, Kaido's eyes scanned the shadows, ever watchful. As they stepped into the shrine's inner courtyard, the ground trembled slightly beneath their feet, and a low growl reverberated from the depths of the shadows. Suddenly, from the gloom, a figure emerged, tall and cloaked in midnight black, its eyes glowing like embers smoldering in the dark. The air around it seemed to warp, twisting the very essence of the forest into a malevolent force. "You trespass on sacred ground," the figure intoned, voice dripping with malice. "I am Kurai, the Shadow Warden, guardian of this forsaken place and keeper of the darkness that festers within." Haruto stepped forward, his voice firm despite the fear threatening to overwhelm him. "We come to end your corruption and restore the balance that was lost," he declared. Kurai laughed, a sound that echoed like the cracking of ancient bones. "Balance? There is no balance, only chaos and despair. The sacred tree seed was but a fleeting hope. Darkness will always claim its due." With a wave of its hand, tendrils of shadow surged forward, wrapping around the trio and pulling them into a swirling vortex of darkness. Haruto's heart pounded as he struggled against the shadows, the oppressive weight of despair pressing against his mind. Images flashed before his eyes, faces twisted in sorrow, voices crying out in pain, memories of loss and regret. Sayuri's voice cut through the darkness, chanting words of ancient power that shimmered like silver light. Kaido summoned barriers of radiant energy, their brilliance pushing back the shadows inch by inch. But Kurai was relentless, feeding on their doubts and fears, twisting their thoughts against one another. Haruto felt a sharp pang of doubt. Was their mission doomed to fail? Was the darkness truly insurmountable? In that moment of despair, a soft, familiar voice whispered in his ear, the voice of the village children, the laughter of his neighbors, the warmth of the community that had raised him. Summoning every ounce of strength, Haruto focused on those memories, on the love and hope that bound them all. With a mighty cry, he shattered the shadows around him, the wooden staff glowing with radiant light that pierced the gloom. Kurai shrieked in fury as the darkness began to unravel, its form flickering like a dying flame. Sayuri and Kaido joined their powers with Haruto's, creating a torrent of light that engulfed the Shadow Warden. With a final scream, Kurai dissolved into nothingness, the oppressive weight lifting from the shrine. The first rays of dawn broke through the trees, bathing the shrine in golden light. Haruto fell to his knees, exhausted but victorious. Sayuri smiled gently, "You have faced the darkness within and emerged stronger. The village is safe for now." Kaito nodded, "But the path ahead will bring more challenges. Your journey is far from over." Haruto looked toward the rising sun, a fierce determination blazing in his eyes. "For Kiyomura, for the sacred tree, I will face whatever comes," he vowed. The golden dawn filtered softly through the treetops, casting a serene glow over the shrine that now breathed with renewed life. The oppressive darkness had been lifted, yet the air remained tinged with a quiet mystery, as if secrets long buried were waiting to surface. Haruto, Sayuri, and Kaito lingered by the ancient stones, their hearts still heavy from the battle against Kurai, the Shadow Warden. But there was no time to rest. The path to restoring the sacred tree was far from complete. Sayuri knelt beside an intricately carved altar at the shrine's center, tracing her fingers over ancient glyphs shimmering faintly in the morning light. "These symbols tell of a hidden realm," she explained, "a place where the memories of the land are stored, the veil of forgotten memories. It is said that to heal the sacred tree fully, we must journey there and reclaim the lost wisdom." Haruto exchanged a glance with Kaito, whose eyes sparkled with a mix of excitement and caution. "The veil is a realm between worlds," Kaito added. "Time flows differently there, and the past and present intertwine. Many who enter become lost to their own memories." Haruto felt a shiver run down his spine but nodded resolutely. "If this is what it takes, then we must go," he said. As Sayuri began chanting in a melodic, ancient language, a shimmering portal of translucent light opened before them, swirling with colors like liquid glass. Stepping through, the trio found themselves in a realm unlike any they had known, a vast expanse of mist and shadows, where fragments of images and sounds floated like drifting leaves. Visions of the past played out in disjointed scenes, a child's laughter echoing through a meadow, a great battle fought beneath a blood-red moon, whispers of promises made and broken. Haruto felt himself drawn to a particular memory, a vision of an elderly woman tending to a sapling beneath the towering sacred tree. Her eyes were filled with sorrow and hope. Suddenly, the vision shifted, twisting into a nightmarish scene, shadowy figures tearing the sapling from the earth, flames consuming the ancient forest. Haruto's heart ached, but Sayuri's voice steadied him. "The veil reveals truths but also tests your spirit," she said. "You must confront these memories to understand the pain that has fractured the land." Kaito nodded, adding, "Only by embracing both light and shadow can the sacred tree be healed." As they journeyed deeper, the mist thickened, and the voices grew louder, echoes of forgotten hopes and lingering regrets. Haruto felt the weight of generations pressing upon him, yet also the strength of their dreams flowing through his veins. Emerging from the veil, the trio carried with them a newfound understanding and a sacred relic, a crystal infused with the essence of the land's memories. With this gift, they returned to the sacred tree, ready to breathe life into its roots and banish the shadows forever. The crystal from the veil of forgotten memories pulsed gently in Haruto's palm, its radiant glow casting soft patterns of light onto the surrounding forest floor. The sacred tree stood before them, its great limbs stretching toward the heavens, still tinged with shadow but trembling with the promise of renewal. Haruto's heart beat in time with the pulsing light, a rhythm that seemed to connect him deeply with the earth beneath his feet. Sayuri knelt before the ancient roots, raising the crystal high, and began to chant an incantation that wove together threads of old magic and newfound wisdom. Kaito stood watch, his eyes sharp, ever alert for any lingering darkness that might try to interfere. As the chant grew in strength and clarity, the crystal's light intensified, bathing the sacred tree in a luminous aura. The bark shimmered, shedding its withered outer layers like a serpent's skin, revealing vibrant, living wood beneath. Leaves unfurled from the branches, silver and green, shimmering like starlight captured in a forest's breath. The tree's roots pulsed with life, reaching deeper into the earth, drinking from hidden springs of ancient power. Suddenly, a violent tremor shook the ground. The shadows clung desperately to the tree, twisting and writhing as if fighting for survival. From the depths of the forest, a terrible roar shattered the tranquility, the dark essence of Yami no Kage, reborn and more furious than ever. Haruto rose to face the threat, feeling the power of the sacred seed surge within him. The battle that ensued was unlike any before, a clash of light and darkness that shook the very foundation of the land. Sayuri's spells danced like fireflies, illuminating the battlefield with bursts of brilliant light, while Kaito's protective wards shimmered like ethereal armor around them. Haruto wielded the staff imbued with the sacred seed's power, striking with newfound strength and courage. The shadows lashed and clawed, but with each strike, the light grew stronger, pushing back the darkness inch by inch. In a final, desperate gambit, Yami no Kage unleashed a wave of despair so intense it threatened to consume them all. But Haruto's voice rose above the chaos, calling forth the hope and unity of Kiyomura, the love of family, the strength of community, and the promise of a future reclaimed. With a blinding flash, the sacred seed's power erupted, engulfing the darkness in a purifying blaze. When the light faded, Yami no Kage was gone, and the sacred tree stood tall and radiant, its branches glowing with life and hope. Haruto collapsed to his knees, exhausted but victorious. Sayuri smiled, tears of relief shining in her eyes. "You have fulfilled the ancient prophecy, Haruto. The land is healed because of your bravery." Kaito placed a hand on Haruto's shoulder. "But remember," he warned gently, "the cycle of light and shadow is eternal. Your journey has forged a path, but vigilance must never waver." As dawn's first light kissed the forest canopy, Haruto felt a deep peace settle within him, a connection to the earth and people he loved more profound than ever before. The sacred seed had awakened, and with it, a new era for Kiyomura had begun. The radiant glow of the sacred tree bathed the forest in a gentle, golden light. Its leaves shimmered like starlight, and the air was filled with a sweet fragrance, a promise of renewal and hope that spread through the village of Kiyomura and beyond. Haruto stood beneath the ancient branches, feeling the pulse of life thrumming through the roots beneath his feet. The journey had changed him, tempered his spirit, and woven his fate with the very soul of the land. But even in this moment of triumph, the lessons of the past whispered through the rustling leaves. Sayuri approached, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the tree. "The sacred tree is alive because of you, Haruto," she said softly. "But the balance between light and shadow is delicate. The darkness you faced is only a part of a greater whole." Haruto nodded thoughtfully. "I have seen how fear and despair can take root in the hearts of people. It is not enough to banish darkness from the forest, we must heal the hearts of those who dwell within it." Kaito stepped forward, holding a scroll sealed with ancient symbols. "This is the legacy scroll," he explained. "It contains the wisdom of the ancestors' guidance for nurturing the land and guarding against the return of shadow." Haruto carefully broke the seal and unfurled the parchment. The scroll spoke of harmony, compassion, and the enduring strength found in unity. Inspired, Haruto returned to Kiyomura, determined to share the knowledge and heal not just the land but the spirit of his people. Over the following months, he worked alongside Sayuri and Kaito to teach the villagers the ways of the legacy, how to live in balance with nature, to support one another, and to recognize the light within themselves. The village flourished as crops grew abundant, relationships deepened, and a renewed sense of peace settled in every heart. Yet, in the quiet moments beneath the sacred tree, Haruto felt a stirring, a reminder that vigilance and courage were eternal companions. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, a messenger arrived bearing news from distant lands, rumors of darkness awakening once more, threatening other realms beyond Kiyomura. Haruto's eyes hardened with resolve. "This is only the beginning," he said. "Our journey may have healed one part, but the world's balance depends on many hands. We must be ready." Sayuri and Kaito stood beside him, their faces set with determination. Together, they gazed at the sacred tree, its light a beacon in the growing dusk, a symbol of hope, courage, and the enduring fight against shadow. The legacy was theirs to protect. The years had passed like a gentle river flowing through the valley of Kiyomura. Under the watchful branches of the sacred tree, the village thrived in harmony, its people flourishing in spirit and in body. The scars left by darkness were healing, replaced by bonds forged through courage and compassion. Haruto stood once again beneath the ancient tree, now fully restored, its leaves shimmering with a brilliance that rivaled the stars themselves. The air was alive with the hum of life, birds singing, flowers blooming, and children laughing as they played in the dappled sunlight. Beside him stood Sayuri and Kaito, their faces serene but filled with a quiet pride. Together, they had faced shadows that threatened not just a village, but the balance of the entire realm. Haruto reached out and placed his hand upon the tree's trunk, feeling the steady heartbeat of the land beneath his palm. The journey was never just about saving the tree, he reflected aloud. It was about awakening the light within each of us, the strength to face our fears and the wisdom to nurture hope. Sayuri smiled gently. The sacred tree is a living symbol of that light, growing stronger as long as we remember what we fight for. Kaito nodded. And though darkness will always seek to return, so too will the light endure, carried by those who refuse to give in. As the sun began to set, casting the world in hues of amber and rose, a gentle breeze stirred the branches, whispering ancient secrets and new promises. From the horizon came a soft glow, distant but growing, the first sign of a new dawn beyond the valley. Haruto turned to his companions. There are more lands to protect, more hearts to heal. Our story is far from over. Sayuri extended her hand. Together, we will face whatever comes. Kaido smiled, eyes bright with hope. For the light to endure, it must be shared. With that, the three friends stepped forward, leaving behind the sacred tree that had given them purpose and strength. Their path led toward the rising sun, toward new adventures and challenges, a never-ending journey to defend the balance of light and shadow in a world both ancient and ever-changing. And so, beneath the eternal sky, the legacy of Haruto and his companions became legend, a beacon for all who dared to believe in the power of courage, unity, and hope. Title: Whispers of the Sacred Tree, The Journey of Light and Shadow. Description: In the ancient village of Kiyomura, a humble farmer named Haruto is thrust into an extraordinary quest to restore the sacred tree, the heart of his land's life and hope. Guided by the mysterious Sayuri and the enigmatic boy Kaido, Haruto must face dark spirits, treacherous trials, and the shadows lurking within both the forest and his own heart. From battling the malevolent Shadow Warden to journeying through the mystical veil of forgotten memories, their adventure weaves a tale of courage, unity, and the eternal struggle between light and darkness. As the sacred tree awakens and the village begins to heal, Haruto and his companions discover that true strength lies not only in magic or power, but in the love and hope shared by a community. Join them in this epic fantasy of ancient magic, perilous battles, and the unbreakable bonds that illuminate even the darkest paths. Will the legacy of light endure, or will shadow claim the land forever? Find out in Whispers of the Sacred Tree, a story of heart, heroism, and hope that will resonate through the ages.